Hi BookTube, I thought I would do a very quick, rather late October wrap-up. I managed to read, I think it was about 12 books in the month of October, and I was certainly helped along by my participation in the Dewey's Readathon. So between that, and I'll also link below my a link to my October wrap-up that I did on my blog as well, because there's sort of, if you're interested in hearing a bit more in detail about all the books, you are quite welcome to have at it. First up, I read an ebook by Charlotte Walker. It's the second full-length novel in the Secrets and Shadows series, sorry. So far there's been 3 novellas and these 2 full-length novels. And because it's like the 5th book in the series, I don't want to go too much into it, but I really did enjoy it much more than the first full-length novel. I didn't quite connect with the female character in the first one, so yeah, that's, I think, part of the reason why I didn't like it so much. It is quite dark subject matter. The basic premise of the series is that there's a small town, Madison. I'm assuming it's made up, but it's sort of in the south. I'm kind of thinking maybe like, I don't know, somewhere along the Mississippi River. And basically all of the male upstanding town community leaders, so your police chief or sheriff, the local pastor, all that sort of thing, head up a child pornography ring that's been going for quite a few generations. Basically, these gentlemen then indoctrinate each other's sons into the group, and so it carries on. So it's not incredibly nice subject matter, but I do think that Charlotte Walker can really write great angst and drama in her books without making it seem too over the top. So definitely worth a check out if you do like that sort of romantic suspense, more kind of mystery as well. And I did particularly like Adam, who's the main guy in the Sweeter Than Sin book. He's been in all of them as well, and he's just I like him as a character, and he's sort of growing. Maggie's hunting flies. Next up was the 4th book in the Unfinished Heroes series, Deacon by Kristen Ashley, and I haven't read the first 3, but for my enjoyment and my understanding, I didn't need to. Characters from the other 3 books do crop up, but it's like in the very last chapter, and it's only for a couple of minutes. And the way that book ended, I am assuming that there will be perhaps another book on the end of that after. I did quite enjoy it. One of the main reasons was that the story sort of takes place over about 6 or 7 years, so there's no freaking insta-love, which I love, because very rarely it's done well and it works. Most of the time it just gives me rage. Next up was 3 books, all by Shelley Lawrenceston. These are also E1s as well in the Pride series, and I do recommend that you read them in order. I started with Bite Me, which is like the 9th book in the series, and out of the 3 that I read over that weekend was the one that I enjoyed the most. I also read the first book in the Pride series, which is the main event, and it's a bind-up of 2 books. It's Christmas Pride and Shaw's Tale, and then the 3rd book was Bear Meets Girl, which is sort of in between those, maybe book 6 or 7. It's a paranormal shifter. Did you get it? She didn't get it. I don't even know if you can hear what she's doing, but her little claws are scratching on the screen door. Tangent. But yes, so it's a world where shifters live alongside humans, and any kind of shifter that you can think of, there's pretty much will be a shifter for that. In Bite Me, the main character Livy is a honey badger, and her romantic interest Vic is a bear and white tiger, and they just have Shelley Lawrenceston is just really great at writing funny characters. Her ladies are quite sassy, They can take care of themselves. They don't take any crap from anybody, and it's just a really, really fun read. I remember reading her Magnus Pack series, which is about lion shifters, and I bought it from a bookstore in Melbourne, so I was taking the bus back home, which is about a 6-hour bus trip, train trip, and yes, laughed the whole way and read like both books back to back. And I swear, like, people would have obviously thought that I was crazy, but I just didn't care because I was having so much fun. Next up is some audios. I listened to the last book, Empower, in the Violet Eden chapters, and I'm glad I finished the series, but I don't know, it kind of did leave a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Basically just because I didn't like or agree with what happened to some of the characters, and that frustrated me a lot. I'm tossing up whether to do like a full review of the whole series. I listened to the first 4 books when I was away on holidays, and it's just like I read one big giant book. I can't sort of 100% separate all of the books now, but I'll see how I go with that. Then I listened to what is arguably one of my worst books of the whole year. I think it is, maybe it's like a tie between that and Adam and Eve, or Eve and Adam. The Lightkeeper by Susan Wiggs. I've decided that we've broken up and I'm no longer going to read any of her books. This was only the second book I'd read, but I didn't particularly like the first one. I didn't particularly like either of the characters, and I just felt like the book was full of all of this conflict just for conflict's sake. They sort of make up and then something will happen and they're like, well, no, we're not made up and I can't live with you and I can't do this and blah 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 blah. I'm not going to talk any more about it because it made me very angry. And I sort of did a little bit on my blog post to explain a bit more why I didn't like it. But after that I listened to After Text by Cheryl Woods, and this is the first in the Whispering Wind series, which I think there are actually only 2 books in that series, and this made me so much more happy. It was a really fun read. By the end of it, there are a couple of things that I didn't particularly like how the author had written them, but overall it was just a nice fun read, and I listened to that while I was in the car. Next up I read The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, or J.K. Rowling. This is my first of her books. Yes, that means I haven't read the Harry Potter series, and I enjoyed it enough. It sort of was slow in parts, but I liked Corman as a character, and I'm looking forward to reading the second book in the series, and I think this has sort of made me decide to give The Casual Vacancy another go. I had picked it up, read the first couple of chapters, and it wasn't for me at that time, so I think I might try it again a little bit later on. Next up was The Collector by John Fowles, and I absolutely love this. I've done a separate review which I will link below as well. Next up was a bind-up of 3 novellas, Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Miracle. In October I only read the last novella, which I think is The Patron Saint of Pigs. I'd started and finished the first 2 novellas. I'm pretty sure it was maybe Christmas readathon, or maybe like one early on in the year, and so to me the last story, it just felt a little bit disjointed, which was a bit disappointing because I did enjoy the first 2 books, and I like the fact that the 3 novellas sort of all take place on the one night and the stories are interweaved together. So I think if I get done with all my other December Christmas reading, I might give that one another go and see if I like it more if I read it all together at the same time. Next up was Pawn by Amy Carter, and this is the first book in the Blackcoat Rebellion series, I think it is. And while I did enjoy it, it's a dystopian YA. I didn't particularly love the main character Kitty. I just felt like she wasn't a very strong character. She sort of, while she could see that there were things wrong in this particular society, and she sort of did a couple of things to try and change that, I just felt like she did sort of go, well, that's, it's really horrible and it should change, but she doesn't do anything to try and make it change. Basically, the society is on your, I think it's your 16th birthday or your 17th birthday, you take a test, and then once they get the results of that, you get a number, and that's tattooed on your back, and that basically puts you in that category for the rest of your life. So she ends up with a number 3, and it means that she's going to be a sewer cleaner, which she's not particularly happy about because she wanted to at least get a 4, which meant that she could stay with her boyfriend. And in the end, she gets the opportunity to be masked and move up to be a 7. And yes, I think I will read the next 2 books in the series, but I'm certainly in no rush to read them, if that makes sense. And last up was Covet by J.R. Ward. This is the first book in the Fallen Angels series, and this is also the first book of hers I've read. She's quite famous for her Black Dagger Brotherhood, which the first few novels are supposed to be very good, but I think, well, I know at least from my friend, she's not too impressed with the last couple of books that have been written in that series. And reading the Black Dagger Brotherhood isn't essential to reading this, but there were a couple of characters from that series that popped up in this series as well, so I sort of was just, I had no idea who they were talking about, whereas if you had read the series you would sort of get that, and I guess if you like that sort of thing, it would be cool to see them pop up in another series that you're reading. I did enjoy this, although the first bit of it was like a big information dump. There was just so much information that the author wanted to impart, I guess, and I got a little bit lost in it. And yeah, I didn't skip through any of it, but I was just like, yeah, save it for later, or maybe write like a little novella and stuff. I know a lot of authors do that now. They'll have a novella or a couple of novellas to set up a series and then go into the full series. Overall though, I did enjoy this, and again I will read the next book in the series, although I don't know, I have quite similar taste to my friend, and she read this one and didn't mind it, but she read the second one and didn't particularly like it. And when it comes to all flavours of romance, we do sort of have a fairly similar taste in that, so I think there's a few other books that I'd like to tackle before this one as well. That was my October wrap up. Not quite so short because it's about 13 minutes, but as I said, yeah, I'll leave a couple links below if you do sort of want to have a bit more of an expanded idea of what I thought of everything. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.